From Dr. Gerardus Bowes, The Biblical Astronomer Credo. We maintain that the Bible teaches us of an earth that neither rotates daily nor revolves yearly about the sun, that it is at rest with respect to the throne of him who called it into existence, and that hence it is absolutely at rest in the universe. The reason why we deem a return to a geocentric astronomy a first apologetic necessity is that its rejection at the beginning of our modern age constitutes one very important, if not the most important, cause of the historical development of Bible criticism, now resulting in an increasingly anti-Christian world in which atheistic existentialism preaches a life that is really meaningless. Geocentrism, the ancient doctrine that the earth is fixed, motionless, at the center of the universe, died over 4 centuries ago. At that time, Nicolaus Copernicus, a Polish guy who dabbled in astrology, claimed that the sun and not the earth was at the center of the universe. His idea was known as heliocentrism. It took 100 years for heliocentrism to become the dominant opinion, and it did so with a complete lack of evidence in its favor. Despite the testimony of all the equations and the published testimonies of top scientists to the viability of geocentricity and the inability of experiments to establish its truth or falsity, some will still scoff at geocentricity. Only by going outside the universe and taking a look around can one ascertain the truth of the matter. Without that ability to look around outside, physics cannot resolve the debate. However, since God does know what is beyond the universe, should his word not be taken as the final authority? From the Basic Scientific Arguments for Geocentricity by Malcolm Bowden. Most scientists know about the Michelson-Morley experiment that failed to detect any movement of the Earth around the Sun. This had to be overcome, so the Fitzgerald-Lorentz shortening of the apparatus was proposed, and eventually the paradoxical relativity theory was invented by Einstein to overcome this problem. However, there are 3 experiments that have been deliberately ignored by universities because they support geocentricity. The Michelson-Gale experiment, which detected the ether passing the surface of the Earth. I'm not even sure if it's pronounced ether or aether, but it's something people used to believe in. Ether, it's some kind of invisible substance that fills all space. Airy's failure, in which telescopes have to be very slightly tilted to get the starlight going down the axis of the tube because of the Earth's speed around the sun. Airy filled a telescope with water that greatly slowed down the speed of the light inside the telescope, and found that he did not have to change the angle of the telescope. This showed that the starlight was already coming in at the correct angle, so that no change was needed. This demonstrated that it was the stars moving relative to a stationary Earth, and not the fast orbiting Earth moving relative to comparatively stationary stars. If it was the telescope moving, he would have had to change the angle. The Sagnac experiment Sagnac rotated a table complete with light and mirrors, with the light being passed in opposite directions around the table between the mirrors. He detected the movement of the table by the movement of the interference fringes on the target where they were recombined. This proved that there is an ether that the light has to pass through, and this completely destroys Einstein's theory of relativity that says there is no ether. It is for this reason that this experiment is completely ignored by scientists. More recently, Cantor has found the same results with similar apparatus. All these experiments are never taught at universities, so consequently, scientists, including most Christian creationists, are ignorant of this evidence for geocentricity. Is it any wonder, therefore, that Christian geocentrists find their most vociferous opponents are fellow Christian creationists to whom geocentricity comes as a shock? They do not want to be tarred with such a heretical brush that will only increase the great ridicule they are already receiving for their stance against evolution. There are over 40 verses in the Bible that say it is the sun that moves, not the earth. We've been so conditioned to think that the earth is moving that we don't take the verses at face value anymore. Psalm 93:1. The world is established that it cannot be moved. Psalm 19:4-6. The sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of heaven, and his circuit is unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. Sun, stand thou still. And the sun stood still. Now, why would he tell the sun to stop moving if the sun wasn't moving? Why didn't he tell the earth to stop rotating?